Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Another broadcast, the Roofing on the Rise Studios, where we are sponsored by the Chad T. Wilson Law Firm. You can contact me. Telephone number is 210-919-8987. Again, 210-919-8987. If you're trying to get in contact with someone that can put you in contact with Chad T. Wilson. Chad T. covers first-party insurance. So if you have a problem with an insurance claim, they are the firm for you. A little bit about Chad T. They operate as a business and not like a law firm, like normal firms. So there's more of a client communication better than, say, your normal firms. It's what I really, really like Chad T. Wilson and how they work with the community. They are also built from like the ground up, bro. Like, one of my buddies and his buddy started this like right down the road. So they're from here in Houston, started it. Yeah. It's freaking awesome. We're also sponsored by Roofing Supply Incorporated in the Houston marketplace, where you can get your shingles directly from me. The telephone number is 210-919-8987. Again, 210-919-8987. I know you guys are probably looking at the screen and seeing that the overlay has changed. It kind of looks different. There's some new faces. Today, we've got a little bit more of a laid-back environment. I got my buddy Temo with me. What's up, Temo?
What is up, Marquis?
What's up, bro? I'm kind of excited about this because we've been talking about doing a podcast for like a minute now.
You're right. Every time we go out in the town and we're just talking, brainstorming, we say, hey, we need to do something, because traditional media is just too I'll do an interview I just did one with NPR, and they interviewed me for like an hour, and they only put in a minute of what I said, and it's everything I didn't want to go in there. But they edit it a certain way. So it's good when you can do something like this. You can kind of speak more freely.
I like that because, we could say whatever we want, and we're broadcasting all of it. So everything, bro. Let's go, dude. Like, I'm excited about this. The title, if you have seen the title here, and I'll go over, see if we have anybody commenting yet. No comments. All right, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be covering some pretty touchy subjects today, right? Like Donald Trump.
Either you hate him or you don't like him, but same thing.
Like you either love him or you hate him.
Yeah, and
it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, he's relevant.
He could end up being our president, so I think it's important to talk about that.
I think it's crazy. Yeah. We're going to talk about Taylor Swift.
Yes, Swifties.
I tagged you, Taylor. So if you're watching, hit me up. Yeah, watch this broadcast. Temo and Marquis. We think you're something. I don't know exactly.
Impressive. She's impressive.
Bro, you know how much coverage? We were just doing this.
Yeah.
We were just doing this.
So I was reading up before we did this that teenage girls, I don't know why the NFL would actually measure this, but 53% increase in viewership amongst teenage girls. So they're breeding the future of NFL viewers.
Not just teenage girls, but so my daughter's 9.
Yeah.
And she wanted to watch just because Taylor went to the game.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't care about football. We don't watch football. Like, we're a family that does not really watch a whole lot of football. Yeah. We watch, when the Cowboys play, when the Texans play, you know what I mean? Yeah. But like, we're not just turning on the TV to watch sports that we don't want to watch.
Yeah.
That's just me.
But think about the NFL, right? They're seeing that as a future viewer, right? More revenue dollars.
For sure.
Yeah. Like,
all because of Taylor Swift? Yeah. You think it's because of Taylor Swift?
I think that's part of the project, right? They see, a young girl somewhere in the future. Her dude's going to ask her, hey, do you want to go to Cheesecake Factory, or you want to go to the NFL game? She's going to say, let's go to the NFL game.
I just took my wife to the Cheesecake Factory, bro.
Hey.
I love that place.
Yeah, it's got a lot of options.
But for her.
Yeah, you saw that one video with that guy. The guy took that girl to the Cheesecake Factory, and she started complaining.
I know, bro.
He said, I'm taking you home.
Yeah.
But guess what? Now you got the NFL as an option because of Taylor Swift.
That's crazy.
So that's a good thing for the future.
And then we're going to talk about Lakewood.
Yeah,
That's
that's rough.
My heart goes out to all the
Yeah.
families, and everyone that was even. I'm praying even for the shooter.
Yeah, that's yeah.
I just don't understand. I believe that there's just a big depravity that has hit, our nation, and within the same week, we've got the Kansas City shooting.
Yeah. Yeah, just people were celebrating out there the Super Bowl, and then all of a sudden you have now it comes out today that it was a personal altercation according to the police. It wasn't like a terrorist act or anything, but still, I mean, you have a city that's
It was a
celebrating.
mass shooting, though.
Yeah, and they were all mostly kids.
Yeah.
Like I think it was the age of 6 to like 18. I think 13 of the victims or something like that were kids.
It's unfortunate
Yeah.
to see these types of things, but viewers, we want you to chime in. We want some questions. If you've got any questions, please, chime in. Let us know what you got on your mind. I've got a list of questions. Timo's got a list of answers. And then there's also some questions that he just doesn't have the answers to that'll be impromptu. So, help us out with some of that. If you're on, please chime in. Let us know that you're here, and let us know what we could be talking about. So I want to jump in, just in the light of recent events. What do you think? What do you believe the key factors contribute to the rise in shootings?
Ooh, that's a heavy question there right off the bat. You know what? There are a lot of factors. I've done a lot of media on Spanish media with Univision, Telemundo on this topic, and one of the I think one of the factors that is missing in the discussion. I'm not saying it's the most important factor, but I think it's missing from the discussion is as a nation we're having a moral vacuum.
Ooh,
I think there's a little bit of a spiritual vacuum. I think it's faith, the way our kids are being brought up. I also believe that we just don't have that same community neighbor knowing their neighbor
you
feeling.
think that has a lot to do with COVID?
That's contributed, right? That sort of I guess you could say we were already on the way there,
Right.
with the society was sort of shaping in that way, but COVID definitely. I agree with you. It's people have become a little bit more disconnected overall and divided.
I think that moral depravity even goes back to gender equalities type fluidness, if you would. People not understanding what kind of person they are.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say, depend when you have a lot of stuff being pushed.
I understand, like,
Yeah,
gay and straight. I get that. But like everything else just doesn't. I can't wrap my head around it.
I think it's maybe the battle. What I mean by that is you got a lot of individuals that see people who hold more traditional views as uh, undesirable or
Yeah.
their mentality should not be part of today's society. And I'm like, hey, if we're for all points of view, let all points of view exist and let what's called the arena of ideas, right? The freedom of expression. If I have a certain point of view and I can defend it and I can persuade, if I can use arguments to try to get someone to my side, let me speak, right?
Yeah.
And let the best ideas win at the end of the day. Sometimes some individuals feel like they're being suppressed, and it could be a perceptive thing or it could be for real. And that's where you have division. That's where you have neighbors not even talking to their neighbors. And I think you have certain individuals that maybe have some mental health issues that maybe take that to the extreme, right? They see
How
their
did this go to fucking Washington though?
well, first off, I think a lot of the debate on this type of stuff, you have extremes. You have interest
Because
groups. You have
I guess it boils down to freedom,
yeah,
right?
I
And
agree.
then and I am all for that. I'm not against it. I mean, the reason why I even brought that up is because I mean, you can even shed light, like you can go back to rock and roll if you wanted to, right? Like me and you we've got a different kind of relationship, which
Yeah.
our viewers will understand as time goes on. Because Timo's here to stay. We're going to be doing this quite a bit.
Yeah, we talked about music. Yeah,
We talk about actually we do kind of something different. What do we
straight
do,
up.
bro?
Yeah, we share I think it's sort of a subculture, kind
Yeah.
of a unique. We talk a lot about 90s and 2000s Christian contemporary music,
Yeah.
and
And we listen to
we
it
listen to it. And
together
yeah, we do. And
sometimes.
yeah, I admit
It's
that. I'll admit it. So the
but I
story
mean, it's
goes,
just
yeah,
yeah.
I
Go
think
ahead.
we talk about right music and how back in the 90s and 2000s, I would go to Cynthia Mitchell Woods Pavilion.
Yeah.
I was a kid from the hood, right?
Yeah.
And I was like the only minority there at these concerts for Christian contemporary music, or
Oh,
at
wow.
Second Baptist or First
Yeah.
Baptist. My uncle used to work for KSBJ, which is a very popular Christian radio station. So I used to
KSBJ.
get tickets all the time. So I was watching people like Margaret Becker, Newsboys, Stephen Curtis Chapman, Michael W. Smith, you name it. Yeah,
Ooh.
Michael W. Smith, Petra,
Petra.
and so I had a real unique experience. And but even then, I remember, even in the church world, a lot of people would question whether Christian contemporary music was
Ordained
ordained.
almost.
Yeah, ordained. Was it, was it holy enough? Was it reverent? So we've had that discussion. But I still like
If
the
it was
music.
sin.
Yeah, if it was sin.
It was even like, is it sin? And I'm like, I had this thought as a child, like,
Yeah,
hold on, it doesn't say anything close to what a rap song says or
yeah.
like a Christian
There's a
rock
big
says.
difference. Yeah,
Huge monumental differences,
yeah,
but anyhow, I mean, so politics and the gender equality and the depravity of the nation, we could speculate about where it's gone, how it's
yeah.
gone, but ultimately we are here, right? We're
Agreed.
where we're at now. And right now, I feel like we have the largest, like you said, vacuum and
I agree.
depravity that we ever have. Like, and is it because of all those things?
I think part of it, even from a non-religious standpoint, church builds community, right? You're united. You show up together on Sunday. You know who
Yeah,
your neighbors are. A lot of the small town churches, the butcher, the lawyer, they're all there.
everybody goes.
Yeah, so you kind of, it's a neighborhood thing, and just that community, that local community feeling, is gone. A lot of the urban development, the way it's done now, just again, just neighbors knowing their neighbors, right? You act different when you get in an argument with a neighbor.
Where do you go to church?
I don't. I don't go to church. I haven't been for like 18 years.
Really?
Yeah, I grew up in church.
Yeah.
I studied to be a pastor actually, but I haven't been to church. But I still understand the role of it as an institution in society. I value it, and I've seen the good it does. I have nephews and nieces that go with my uncle to
Yeah.
church, and those kids, man, they're amazing, right? And
Yeah.
then I see other kids that don't go to church, and I feel a little. I think they're going to be in trouble. Maybe, right? Hopefully, sometimes kids on their own find a way.
Right.
But I think it's a good institution to help you build families. But also, I mean, we can go for hours, but I mean, what about the effectiveness of the church, right? Like, what exactly are churches doing today?
Well, I mean, I'm our unfortunately, we weren't able to be at church on Sunday because we were sick. And but I was able to watch it online.
That's what church is for, bro.
Right?
You go when you're sick, lay them hands on you.
Well, I mean, I had COVID. I wasn't.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, excuse me. My 4-year-old had COVID. I had COVID the week before, so we just didn't want to take it. Yeah. And we go to the early service, bro. So young people just don't go to that service.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? We go to the early service, and
is that sunrise service?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, I like that
legit
because I got the rest of my day. You know what I mean about me, and I can help influence, and I feel like I have a better day whenever I have an early service than whenever I take a later service. That's just personal.
I remember Easter, right, when they would have the sunrise service, and as a kid, I'm like, I'm gonna go, and never can make it. You're supposed to it's like symbolic, right? When Jesus rolls out of the tomb, but or New Year's, they used to have this late night service till like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
that's too much.
Lock-ins, bro.
Lock-ins.
I did lock-ins.
I did lock-ins. I used to organize lock-ins.
Yeah.
Mr. Gaddy's Pizza or
Mr. Gaddy's, bro.
Yeah,
what?
Bro.
What?
Bro, that's legit.
I haven't heard Gaddy's in like a long time, bro.
Yeah. So I would organize. We had like 150 kids and raise good money for the church, and it was fun times. That's just the church culture.
Speaking of church,
Uh-oh.
Lakewood.
Yeah.
So, this week, this Sunday,
Yeah.
a lady came into the church
Yeah.
with a gun, and opened fire. And this is in Houston. This is, I mean, I go to church on 45 at the Ark in Conroe. I like to call it the Woodlands because it's like the Woodlands Conroe. You know what I'm saying? It's like right on the edge, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like right on the edge, bro. Like right there.
It
But
counts.
anyway, it
Yeah.
counts.
In the Civil War, it would
Listen,
they would
bro.
unite.
I would be on the Woodlands
You
side
have to.
100%.
Yeah. You can't
Because
do
I'm
that.
like, 1488 and 45. I'm right there. That's Woodlands, bro. But when you're north of 1488,
that's it.
that's Conroe.
Okay.
I feel. I don't know. But anyway,
Yeah,
we can talk about
that's
that all day long.
Woodlands thing.
But yeah, anyway, so I mean, we heard directly after church about the shooting, and it hit my heart because this is a repeating thing that happens.
Yeah.
And it's not just a isolated, and yes, this one was isolated, right? But what I really mean is that our nation continues, and Texas continues to have fatal shootings in churches.
Yeah, it's been something that has been
Dripping
brought up.
Springs.
Yeah.
That was a absolute tragedy. And it's a continual thing that happens. What do you think about that? Like, why here? Why in Texas? Why in Houston? What do you think motivated that?
Well, I think we're still waiting on the Lakewood situation, still looking at the facts. I think the big question in the media was this a terrorist attack? Because she had the sticker on her AR-15 that says "Free Palestine," and why did she choose Lakewood Church as the place, or was it just somebody with the mental health issue, right, that went off? So I think I want to wait to see what exactly
Free Palestine was on the
it
AR.
was, which is she didn't buy it like that.
No.
Yeah, so she put that on there, and I mean, even if
she could have taken that off before she went into the church.
Yeah, like what? Let's say she, again, we were just kind of speculating here, but let's say she believes that Lakewood Church somehow is an ally of Israel or something, and so they must pay somehow. Again, we're just speculating here as to the connection,
right?
But what exactly is she going to accomplish by going into a church? And even if she shoots a lot of people, it's not like the church is going to stop advocating for their position, right? So there has to be some type of mental health disconnect there.
I feel like Lakewood is a symbol of many things, and
I agree with you.
Second chance and love and redemption, and there's just so much good that comes
for Houston too.
And so you could have picked any church.
Yeah,
there are hundreds of thousands of churches in the Houston area. You can fit Connecticut, the entire state of Connecticut, in the Houston metroplex area. Okay,
that's wild.
The entire state of Connecticut. So there's real estate. There is tons of churches. There are tons of areas. There were tons of organizations. There were tons of events. We have had so much in Houston. Why Lakewood? I think for me, my speculation on it is all of those things. It is a symbol of hope. It is a symbol of freedom. It is a symbol of redemption. It is a symbol of a second chance. It is a symbol of, in my opinion, Christianity. And so Christianity and Islam has had its bouts
over history,
throughout history, thousands of years. It's just crazy that it would happen here.
Yeah, in our backyard.
It's just it's right here.
I look at part of it is in her mind, And why Lakewood, right? Was it because it was a Christian church that, on the record, it's been a ally of Israel, right?
Yeah.
It's just an evangelical community usually leans more
Yeah.
towards the Israel side of that conflict over there in the Middle East.
Right.
So you have to ask yourself, if you do have more people out there that are passionate about the issue to the point that they want to kill people over it, are churches and synagogues in danger, right? Now you got to step up security, you got to be careful.
That was one of my next questions too.
Or is it just, like I said, a mental health issue where somehow she connected the dots in her head and she took action? And like you said, prayers to the kid too. Like, she had a child that she used, I'm assuming, as a human shield, or just kind of took him to this situation. And that's tough. And it's also tough for the officers that had to engage, that I'm sure they saw the kid.
Mhm.
And you got to make it, no one's talking about that, but you have to make an impossible moral decision. It's a moral dilemma where, I mean, I think they made the right decision, where you have to engage and take her down because she can kill more people, but unfortunately in the way is the child. And that's a decision that she made as a mother. But I think that's the reality we're in today. And I look at it from the perspective, I am a big proponent of the Second Amendment. It's as a responsible citizen, it is to be armed, because you just don't know.
How do you think politics and gun violence play out in current times?
Well, right now, this story, I was watching the press conferences, and immediately the media mostly was touching on the mental health and gun situation, asking the police officers and the chief about it. But it's the way they ask it,
Yeah.
because look, as a Second Amendment proponent, I'm willing to talk about how do we handle this mental health situation with guns. But when I'm told by certain politicians that they're going to take away my guns, I immediately go defensive because I love my liberty, right? So you force me to take a position.
It's
all or
hard.
nothing.
That is
Yeah.
hard to make a
Yeah.
stand on that. I mean, for me, I go to church every Sunday if I can. Lord willing, the creek don't rise. My wife's a testament to that. I love my wife and my kids, and that time is a time in which that is very sacred for us.
Yeah.
It has helped to build, like you said, build families. It's helped to reshape our family, and it's purported us into a different, in a completely different way. And so for me, I trust when I drop my children
Yeah.
into the children's church.
Wow. Yeah. It's a sanctuary.
I'm trying not to cry right now,
I feel
because
you.
this is super hard. My children and thousands are under the care of amazing individuals.
Yeah.
But are they armed? And can they respond? And that's something we're not talking about either.
Well, if I may, I can extend it to the schools too, right?
Ooh.
Because now you're talking about your entire day at work. You're trusting the government to educate your kids to a degree. We can argue about what does it mean to educate and what it should entail.
They don't even have a resource officer.
That's the thing. The safety
Woodlands doesn't even have a Woodland school. I'm not looking for a lawsuit or anything. I'm not downplaying you.
Yeah.
I love the security. I say it every time. Every time you ask me for my driver's license, I thank you, because you ask me, even though you know that I'm Marquis Mitchell's father and I'm Aubrey Diana Mitchell's father, that you ask me every time for my driver's license, and I thank you. But you don't have a resource officer. Yeah. And I mean, I've even had times in which that, like, I needed a resource officer to, like, maybe scare my son straight. You know what I mean? Because, like,
some authority figure.
We're knuckleheads, bro.
Yeah.
As kids. Yeah. Listen, I was a knucklehead as a kid, so I know, right? And so I know my son, sometimes he has problems, and I'm like, whoop him. But they don't whoop no more.
No, not anymore.
So, like, resource officers are a huge thing. We don't have enough of them. There's only certain schools in Houston that are allowed to carry weapons. There's only a certain amount numbered in the woodlands that actually do. Bear Branch is one of them. I don't know them all, though. I know Woodlands is not.
Yeah.
And so you're right. When we drop the kids off, when they get on the school bus, we have no security that our children are taken care of.
That's tough. I mean, at home, you got lock system, you have weapons, you have alarm systems. You do everything you can as a parent. I'm not a parent, but this is what I would do is do everything in my power, move to the right neighborhood if you can, and do everything to protect your children. That's like number one.
Yeah.
And then you leave them, you go to work and you leave them at school, and it's like somehow you're supposed to trust
the government.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough.
We could talk about that for 3 days.
We can. But sometimes it's not even like the mass school shooter. You can have an incident where there's like a fight between students and they bring guns. You've seen that's what happens where a student brings a weapon. And
my son threatened a kid at school.
Oh wow!
Last week with a gun, and they sent him to the fucking principal's office. Yeah.
Wow.
But guess what? The resource officer didn't call me. Yeah, in front of a bunch of kids. He was like, tough. I'm gonna bring my dad's gun, and I'm gonna shoot you. And my son,
I met your son. Like,
I know, my good kid.
Yeah,
but he was scared. He was being bullied.
That emotion.
So what happens, bro?
Yeah.
Right. I teach my kids. My gun is not accessible to him.
Yeah.
So there's no way he's getting that gun. But what if he did get the gun and he took it to school? It could be my kid, it could be your kid, it could be anyone's kid.
What was the protocol of the school? What did they do? Or
they searched his backpack immediately. As soon as he got on the bus, they searched his backpack and they called me once he got to the school. And he sat in the principal's office all day until they released him. And that was it. They didn't do anything else.
That's tough as a parent because you have.
For me, I'm like, where's the cop at? Where is the resource officer at? You need to have that resource officer stick his ass in the back of the fucking car and maybe even drive down the road.
Yeah.
And have a little conversation with him. And actually, I'll meet you at the jail.
Yeah.
Because I feel it's important.
Yeah. Get that. Yeah.
That he understands that
it's
it's not
the
okay.
Emotions
exactly.
Of, like this,
that he's in trouble.
Right. Yeah.
But it's a slap on the wrist. And so that goes, we're talking about the depravity and where this is led and how it leads. And this is it right here. There's nothing that protects. And it could be Johnny. It could be Jill. It could have been my daughter. It could have been her friend. It could have been anyone. And they're doing the same thing.
Yeah. That's a vacuum.
Social vacuum.
Don't know how to handle it. Good thing you're an involved parent. Can you imagine some of these schools where the parents aren't even involved?
Or the ones that take the side of the kid.
Oof.
No, that's not me, bro. Like as soon as they call, bro, and he's like, hey, she goes, I just want to let you know that your son, blah, 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 blah. He said that he was going to bring a gun to school. And I was like, did he say like his Nerf gun? Because he's got a bunch of Nerf guns. He's like, no. He said he's going to bring yours. And immediately I'm like, there's a million things that run through a parent's head.
I get together with a mentor of mine once a week. We have dinner or, have a few drinks. And he works in the school system. And the stories he tells me of that situation where his job is to, help the student. Sometimes the student reveals certain things happening at home, which are heavy.
Yeah.
And by law, he has to do certain things. But the one thing that really frustrates him as a professional and teachers and counselors is when you have a parent that enables or, just ignores or makes excuses for the child, and the child's on a dangerous path. Right. And so you have the government, I guess, or the school system actually trying to do its job.
Yeah.
Right. And you have that support system at home that is non-existent. It's not supporting. It's actually more of a friend or trying to be cool or they just don't care.
Maybe fatherless.
and the single parents overwhelmed.
This has a lot to
Yeah.
do with, you know, and in my opinion, I feel like, and it actually, this is verifiable. You can look this up. The percentage of violence outside of a home that has no father is
Yeah.
is drastically increased, right? Divorce, the use of drugs, alcohol, addiction is real high. Suicide, mental health, it is so much more on fatherless than it is with a full
It
home.
is.
But here's the thing: is ultimately these things happen. We can't change it. We have to be there to impact change in the future, because ultimately we are where we are now.
Yeah, I think we're a little bit, just to be, since we're on that topic and we're talking like we usually talk when we're
Yeah.
off the mic, is that at the end of the day, you've got people that go around, health figures, gym trainers, that they'll look at you and say, "Hey, buddy, you got to get in shape. You know, you're not healthy," and you can get offended,
Yeah.
right? You can be like, "Well, who are you?" And but I mean, the person's right,
Yeah.
right? There is such a thing as being healthy, and you got too many pounds or your sugar levels too high. Well, maybe we need a little bit of that when it comes to having family situations, right? And it's a very touchy subject. But it's, look, at University of Houston, when I was doing my degree, we were in a social policy class, and the professor asked the class, he brought up all, like you just said, all that data.
Yeah.
He said the number one situation that leads to a child committing a crime when they're older, you know, welfare, blah. I mean, he just named all these things that we would, as citizens, not want. He said it was a single parent home,
Yeah.
right, and or fatherless home,
Right.
and you almost feel like, you know, it's like a thing that's not talked about, right, or you just can't touch on, and you know, sometimes there are situations where you can't help it. You know,
It is
a
what it
parent,
is.
it
Yeah.
is what it is. They're in this tough situation, but if you have a choice,
Mom,
Yeah.
that was our situation.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
you make the best of it, right?
Right.
But do you sort of and I hate to bring it back, but I remember when I was a kid, the whole Dan Quayle Murphy Brown situation. I don't know if you remember that. Murphy Brown was a sitcom where she was the first leading actress sitcom figure where she had a kid as a single mother.
Yeah.
And Dan Quayle, the president under vice president under George Bush Sr., called it out in public, and he was ridiculed and mocked.
Really.
Yeah, because he, you know, brought up something that's like a moral judgment, the
Yeah.
word judgment. Well, I mean, you know, what do we do here? I mean, do we just kind of let things slide, and right? Or do we call each other out? Again, it's a tough one.
Yeah. I mean,
But something's got to give, bro. Like you've got when there's consequences, and you know,
I feel like these types of things happen, and then like something social, something big usually happens. Like there's always events that lead up to something bigger.
you have the concept, and you know, I don't know if it's still going to happen, maybe not, but revival.
Yeah.
You've had that in history. You've had pushback against.
You think it's possible though?
Whew, I've talked about this with many my people that are more into the philosophy. Yeah, and
Is it possible though?
my opinion on that is that revival is not possible, and I'll tell you why. Because, and this is going to be very tough to say, the pastors themselves. I'm not saying all pastors. They no longer are the original pastors of America were the captains in the Revolutionary Army.
Yeah.
Right. They were pretty gangster in terms of building this country.
Oh yeah.
And now, not a majority, a lot of pastors now are building these prosperity gospel ministries where, right, the size of the church, the type of car you drive, and you know how much tithing you can get is more important than the actual impact, the moral impact as a church you have in society, the salt of the earth, right? Calling out the John the Baptist, the voice in the wilderness, you know, Jesus with the whip in the temple, right?
Ooh.
Like that kind of thing that you need for American society to do.
That's dogma.
To do well.
That's doctrine.
So I'm just saying, like,
so you're saying that the pastors of America are no longer teaching doctrine?
I am. I'm saying that. And I'm also saying that if there is going to be a movement, which if you look at as a Christian, now again, I haven't been to church in 18 years, but if you want to see a revival, if you want to see, right, a movement of what you as a Christian or a believer, you think is God's presence through the Holy Spirit on earth, that's what the evangelical community thinks. I don't know if the pastors can that are of that mindset. Not I've met some really good pastors that are committed, that sacrifice for the best. And these guys, my hats off to those guys, very few. But can you imagine having, your congregation actually roaming the streets and helping people? And now you got to take church budget and help single moms and teach English classes or visit people in jail or right, like go to the hospitals. And I mean, it's not very sexy when it comes to the church world. Everybody wants to have that Hillsong top level concert. Everybody wants to have the right. But what is the church actually doing in the community? And guess what? The reason why government is growing also is because the church no longer does its job with the community.
Whoa.
Right? So it's outsourcing its job to the government. I mean, look at the first hospitals of America, right? They were church.
I mean, we're getting a little off topic,
but we're going.
But do you think that's? I mean, do you think that's like a man? Okay, I'm just gonna say it. Do you think that has a lot to do with the alignment of churches with the government?
Yeah,
501c3.
Yeah, and I mean, part of right. If you're doing,
you can't say certain 501c3. You have a document like this.
Yeah.
And you have to sign this document.
Well, the government understands the role of churches.
You can't say certain things.
Yeah. Well, it's it's a necessary institution. They understand that's why they.
Is it though?
It is. It's still if it does its job. If the
how is it necessary?
If the church provides a private safety net, meaning it takes care of people where the government is not as effective, right? There's a book by I believe it's Robert Johnson where he talks about how the church.
I think the government should stay the fuck out of the church.
I agree.
That's my personal opinion. I think the 501c3 thing, I don't think that churches should be beholden to the government.
Well, that means you got to give up your tax exempt status.
Okay.
Well, I'm with you.
Let's pay taxes.
I'm with you. Let's go.
Right? Like that's they preach render under Caesar the things that are Caesar's. You know what I mean? But then we're 501c3. And I mean, even my church is 501c3. You know, there are certain things they can and cannot do. There are certain things. We don't have a gift shop. Why don't we have a gift shop?
Well, you can do it under a 501c3.
You can, but it makes it messy. It makes it sticky, right? And for us, we donate a lot, which is cool.
Yeah, if you do, that's
so like
if the church is
our
doing
cafe,
job,
all the profits go to missions. So whatever's sold, they don't actually have a shop. It's different. So that's 501c3 ran. Now, if you're a for-profit, if you make money, which,
well, also the profit motive helps you grow even faster. But that's another topic. How do you run an organization that's supposed to be a?
I'm just gonna peel the onion back, bro. Keep peeling it.
Yeah, but we got we're talking about society in general, and I do believe the church. When I say the church, I guess
has Taylor Swift had anything to do with this?
Oh, don't even bring that up. You saw the controversy over that. Is it Ice Spice or what's the name of the?
What?
There was that one in her suite when they panned to her the camera. Supposedly she was throwing up like signs, like satanic signs or it's all over the internet.
Taylor?
No, not Taylor. No.
Oh,
no, not Taylor.
God forbid.
No,
Taylor's home country girl. She's a country girl.
No, it was somebody in her suite.
In her suite.
Yeah, it's dressed in black with the
in black.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Right next to her. Right.
Wait. Well, okay. So I mean, they've had speculation on like the Super Bowl since we were talking about Taylor Swift.
The halftime shows
for years, right? About whether it's satanic or what they do, stuff, right? Illuminati, whatever. And Taylor, I mean, Taylor wasn't a part of the halftime show, but she was there. And on the halftime show, I don't know, but for me, the way that Usher danced, did that not remind you of somebody?
Usher? Well, Usher. Usher's been known to dance. What are you talking about? Who?
Not like that, though. I have never seen Usher dance like that. It looked like Michael Jackson to me.
Well, he's known as right. He's always been associated with Michael Jackson, like the moves and yeah, that's kind of his thing when he came out. It was like this generation's Michael Jackson, and so he's ever since he started his music
Maybe I was
career.
naive to that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just saying.
I even loved Usher. Like,
yeah, Usher.
I feel
that was a good one. Good halftime show.
Yeah,
some jams from the past.
It was definitely nostalgic.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Taylor Swift went to the Super Bowl game.
Powerhouse.
I didn't see her jet on the strip at all. I'd seen one that looks like it. It was black. She's got 3 engines on her jet. You know that, right?
Oh,
bro, it is something else. It's got one right here, one on the top. It is
on the top?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
That's
is strong.
Yeah, I'll show you a picture later of the one that's kind of like it. It's like a 4,000 something mile. She had to have refueled because it says that I'm into jets.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I remember you showed me that.
I was like trying to figure out like, how far she flew and all that, right? Like, because I mean, it's not important, but it's just like all the statistics that the Super Bowl looks up, right?
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, I'm enamored with flight. And so she flew over 15 hours, which means she had to have pit stopped somewhere. And then she lands, and I just don't see, that is terrible. Ladies and gentlemen, we have technical difficulties here in the studio. I don't know what happened here. Anyway, well, that sucks. We've got give me just a second, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, the camera went down.
Yeah, I don't know if we have the pause mode here. While we're live, I think all I have is Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to make a pit stop.
Oh, wow.
Oh, we are. Nope, it is down. I don't know what happened.
EMP blast.
Something happened. So I guess let's wrap this up. Double. Well, I mean,
yeah, we went off on some
we went off on some tangents.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's what we usually talk about anyway. So,
but okay, so we'll end on Swift here.
All right.
Because we talked about the shootings, which was good. That's really what we wanted to talk about anyway.
Yeah.
And my prayers and my heart goes out to every family associated in both of these shootings.
Yeah.
Lakewood and Kansas City. We didn't touch on all of Kansas City, but it just goes to depravity. You're up there shooting up 6-year-old kids and a bunch of other kids and adults. Where's your head at?
Yeah, well, I think according to the facts of Kansas City shooting, 2 of the shooters or 2 of the suspects, I don't know if they were all shooters or how are they suspects, but 2 of them are underage, right? Considered juveniles. Yeah. So, if they did have guns or somehow they were involved in this personal altercation, man, to just go off in a crowd like that and surrounded by kids, that's a rough situation because again, these are juveniles, but there's so many questions to ask, right, about how were they able to obtain weapons first off, because you're not supposed to be able to have weapons if you're a juvenile. Right. So those are some questions that need to be answered.
It's in Kansas City. It's not Texas.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more strict, in Missouri. My family had property in Missouri for quite some time, for years, for 2 generations. And I know it's a lot more difficult in Kansas City and up in Missouri than it is to just go down and pick. I mean, Timo, you can go get a gun right now in like less than 2 hours. You can go pick up a gun.
Yeah, the longest part is the background check part. Right when they hit up the.
Have you bought a gun before?
Oh yeah.
Your background check's already done, bro.
Yeah, well, when you do they do the call and they ask you the questions. It takes
But you're
a few minutes.
you're a political analyst.
Yeah,
they're not holding you, bro.
Yeah, who knows, man? At the end of the
Who
day,
knows?
the government. You don't know that's part of the reason why the whole mental health Second Amendment debate's so difficult because how do you do it, right? How do you balance the liberty, right, or something that the government has to respect, which is the Second Amendment and the right to bear arms, and what do you do to how do you identify those that should not have these weapons, right? And there's a registry, if there's some kind of database, well, giving that power to the government, that's tough, right? And how do you do it? How do you label? How do you identify? Is it a medical professional? Is it and right? What happens when you give the power to those individuals? Right? There have been instances of lawsuits before the Supreme Court, and as an attorney, I've done interviews on this where you have an officer. I think in New York it happened last year. The decision where somebody had received threats and signed up for a permit to carry a weapon, and an officer I don't know in what jurisdiction, I don't know if it's a county level or I don't know, New York, they have different names, boroughs, or
right?
I don't know, but that officer decided that individual did not qualify, that the threat was not serious enough. Can you imagine, like, if you have someone in the government saying, "Oh no, you know what? You don't need a gun." Like,
not New York.
Wait a minute, but it's my Second Amendment and blah blah. No, like my power at this level overrides your liberty. So you have instances where the Supreme Court has overturned that, saying, "Look, no, you got to stop. You got to respect that person's Second Amendment." So how do you right once you look at that and you're looking at the mental health issue and the right to bear arms, the discussion. When you look at the discussion, it doesn't get into that nuance. The discussion politically is we're going to take away all your guns, or no one touch my guns, period. And you have to take those two sides, right? And so it's like, how do you get to the point where you can sit across the table from another American who they're passionate about safety, they're worried about guns falling into the wrong hands, and then here you are, you're passionate about having a gun or having the right to, if the government gets out of hand, you can fight back. I mean, that's really why the Second Amendment exists. It sounds controversial, but that's true.
That's it. It was made for government.
Yeah. So how do you balance that, right? Or some people will argue and say, well, you can't balance that. That's too extreme. Well, hey, if you truly want to have a debate, we got to figure out a way how to work it out. But the people who lead the debates do not start at that point. They go extreme. So it's very difficult to reach a point of action of compromise, of majority. But maybe in the future, you're going to have a majority of Americans begin at the starting point where they're going to maybe shun and isolate those that start at that point. Right now, it's not, because it's politics, right? It's ratings and hot and controversial. But I think people are going to get fed up with it pretty soon.
What do you rate this podcast?
I love it. Get to talk. We went from
we went all over the place.
Taylor to church to
depravity.
Yeah, that was the word of the day. Depravity.
Yeah. Word of the day, ladies and gentlemen, is depravity. Ladies and gentlemen, we are sponsored by Roofing Supply Incorporated here in the Houston marketplace, where you can get your shingles. You can get just about anything, any material for roofing known to man. You can get it from me here at Roofing Supply Incorporated. Our title sponsors are Chad T. Wilson Law Firm, based out of Clear Lake, Texas. They are a firm that fights for the insured against the insurance company. So they are a first-party insurance carrier law firm. So what they do is they sue insurance companies in the event that your client has not gotten their just compensation. So if you've got a client and you've got a problem with their claim, reach out. Telephone number is 210-919-8987. I would love to get you hooked up with my contacts over at Chad T. Wilson Law Firm. They'll take care of you. Again, it has been real here on the Temo and Marquis podcast of Roofing on the Rise. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, Temo, for coming on.
Yeah, Marquis.
Dude,
Awesome.
this was fun. We'll figure out what we're gonna do after this.
Let's do it.
It's gonna be fun.
We'll figure it out.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for following along, and have a wonderful, wonderful